Hello and welcome to the Put a Ring on It podcast, a podcast from me, Danielle Pasternak, wedding coordinator of DPNAC Weddings.
And me, Daniel Moyer of Daniel Moyer Photography. The Put a Ring on It podcast is for brides, grooms, and anyone planning a wedding who wants insider knowledge, behind-the-scenes stories, and downright sensible wedding planning advice.
Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Put a Ring on It podcast. Hi Danielle, how you doing?
Good, Dan. How are you?
I am awesome. I'm just really excited that we are finally here and finally starting to do this.
Yes, and this is something we've been talking about for a long time, and it's super exciting to actually be putting all this stuff out there. And we've said exciting now, or excited at least 5 times.
So you know it's absolutely true.
So it doesn't get any more exciting than that.
I mean, you were very excited when we first started out because I think I just had the idea like, yeah, maybe it'd be really great to do this podcast stuff. I've got all these stories and, you know, I know you had kind of said that you were going to do one. And I was like, hey, why don't we just try to do this together? And then immediately the following morning, there was 10 emails of different spreadsheets and really great outlines and all kinds of stuff in my email box. And I was like, okay, she's really ready to do this.
Mm-hmm. I like to be prepared. I've been doing research for a long time and it's something I've really wanted to do, but it's sometimes hard to do solo. So when you suggested it, I was fully on board. And obviously, throughout the past few years, we've gained a really cool friendship and a cool working relationship. So that's something that I really value. And you always have the coolest stuff to share and so much good stuff for both your couples and for all kinds of stuff. So coming together just made a whole lot of sense. So
yeah, and we also come at things from a very, not a different perspective, but we come at things from 2 very different viewpoints. Yeah, worldviews. And, also just because I'm a photographer, you're a coordinator. Well, yeah, since we've said we are really excited to do this about 5 million times, we are very excited to be here. And we realized that, since we're a new podcast, we really couldn't do this without really great listeners and awesome couples. So Danielle, tell all of our listeners out there how we can grow and how they can help us.
Right. So this is our first podcast. This one is going to be formatted a little bit differently than all of the rest. We really want to dive in and give you good tips, good planning advice, stories that are really going to help you. This episode is going to be a little bit different because we want to introduce ourselves. We want to get to know you. You want to get to know us, hopefully. We think we're rather interesting, so maybe you do too. So
my mom thinks I'm interesting.
My mom thinks I'm definitely interesting. So what we want to do is we want to give you as much takeaway knowledge as possible. And in return, we'd love your feedback. We want you to leave us reviews with your feedback. Hopefully it's good, but if it's constructive, we appreciate that too. Clicking that little subscribe button, that all helps. And iTunes has a new and noteworthy section, and we have a very limited time to be listed on that. And we really, really want to be listed on that. That is one of our goals for this podcast because we want it to grow. We want to build a community around it because community just helps everything be so much easier to tackle when you're not going through it alone. So we get to the new and noteworthy section by you reviewing us, subscribing to the podcast, and listening to the podcast, which is really all things that we want you to do anyway. That's why we're making this podcast. So definitely please do that in iTunes. We would love and appreciate that. We will send you many, many virtual high fives and hugs. And also go to our website, putaringonitpodcast.com. You can sign up there for email updates. You can get show notes, all kinds of goodies. It's going to be awesome. You just wait till you see it.
Awesome. Thanks, Danielle. This episode, like Danielle said, is going to be a little bit different. We're going to take a little time to kind of introduce ourselves and go from there.
Yeah. So speaking of, who are you, Dan?
I am Daniel Moyer. I am the main dude behind Daniel Moyer Photography. And I've been doing this for about 10 years, 6 of which have been for myself. Right after high school, I got into photography. I was a photo editor of the high school newspaper and a little bit geeky, but I photographed like anything I could possibly get my hands on. All through college, I worked at this studio that did every kind of photography imaginable: sports, senior portraits, regular portraits, weddings, everything. And, all through college, I worked there. And then kind of right after school, I worked there for about a year. And then the economy bubble burst and my boss came to me and basically said, there's not enough work for the 2 of us, but just more than enough work for me. So I went back to school and started kind of working on my master's. And while I was there, 3 people from my past kind of had come to me and said, "Hey, we know you're a photographer. Would you be interested in photographing our wedding?" And I was like, okay, that sounds great. So literally in a matter of 2 days, 3 couples, I hadn't even been in business or anything, just 3 couples had come to me and said, "Hey, will you photograph our wedding?" And I photographed those 3 weddings, and I was just like, wow, this is really pretty amazing. And I kind of dove head in there, and I was at a really great place because I was able to finish kind of my schooling for my master's, and then go on and start this wedding photography business. And that was 6 years ago, and it's kind of grown and flourished in a way that has been really incredible. And all the couples I've ever gotten a chance to work with have been great in like showing trust towards me and just being making me very comfortable, and vice versa. So it's been a really, really exciting ride, and this is just another exciting ride because I've learned a lot in those 6 years that I really love to just be able to share.
Right. And you are very good at sharing it, because so much of what you do just really shows in your work. Every time you post a new blog or post a new picture on Facebook, it's always like, I don't know who these people are because they're your clients, not mine. But I always like it and comment because I think it's amazing. And I think when you do something that you love so much, like you do, it really shows in the final product. And that's something that you're really great at. So I think it's an understatement to say that you love what you do and you're great at what you do. So
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So that kind of takes care of like the professional part. On the personal part, I am a newlywed, which is pretty exciting. Rachel and I will be married for 2 years in June, which you were there. You got to coordinate our wedding, which is really exciting.
I had a front row seat.
You did have a front row seat.
I was honored.
It was such an awesome day. And
what was your favorite part of your day?
Oh gosh, favorite.
He's got the thinking face on.
I got a thinking face on. There are 4 like kind of crystallized moments in my mind. One was pacing kind of behind like the church wall, like behind the altar. There's like an area where like the priest gets ready, and I just remember pacing back and forth back there
before the ceremony.
Before the ceremony, because the moment at which Rachel walked down the aisle, I had built that moment up in my mind for 2 years because our engagement was 2 years, and I built that moment up in my mind so big that I was bawling my eyes out as my sisters who were bridesmaids were walking down the aisle. And then as soon as Rachel's walking down the aisle towards me, I was just an absolute mess. And she got up to the front, and I was just like, "You're so beautiful." Yeah, I was a mess. So those were kind of 2. The third one was
a good mess.
Yeah, a good mess. Yeah, it was great. The third one was definitely when we were introduced into the ceremony, because it's very rare where I loved being a center of attention. Let's just be honest here. But it's very rare where it was just so loud. I just remember it being so loud, and the cheers when it's for you are just deafening, and everybody's excited and everybody's happy, and you walk in there and there's 150, 200, 300 people just really excited for you. And it's like, right. There's no better experience. And then the fourth one, it's kind of a toss-up between our first dance and my speech as a groom. And
which was very nice.
Yeah, I really like groom speeches, and I just, I really wanted to address it. I took it pretty seriously. And then, of course, in the middle of it, I stumbled, and I can't even remember what I said, but I said something really silly, and it was at a very serious part where I was trying to thank Rachel's parents for, giving me her hand in marriage, and I bumbled it up somehow, and it was really funny. But I remember just standing up and everybody already screaming. I hadn't said anything or done anything yet, and everybody just was screaming and yeah. That was a really beautiful part of our day as well. I could go on for hours now that you're getting me diving back into it, but nobody wants to hear all about that.
Yeah, well, not right now anyway, I guess maybe. But it was definitely a day where everyone, I just kept observing, everyone loves and wanted to support you guys so much. And that's part of what weddings are, is all these people coming together to celebrate with you and just cheer you on in life. And that's a very, very cool thing and cool opportunity. Especially for me as a coordinator, I get to really see all that. And it's great when I get to see it for friends, because it's just awesome. So yeah, very cool. So tell me more about Rachel. What do you guys like to do for fun?
We spend a lot of time together. She's currently studying for her actuarial exam, and my office is in our house. So, it's really great to be together all the time. We get to eat together and all that kind of stuff. We eat at Olive Garden way too much. It's kind of our guilty pleasure.
Nice.
We really love our 100-year-old house, which has a lot of quirks, and sometimes things get crazy in home ownership. We really love Harry Potter, which actually I think is exactly how you and I first bonded.
I have a slight obsession with Harry Potter. Yes, that is true.
So my favorite Danielle story, really quick interjection, a wedding that we worked together, I think it was in 2013, Jen and Ryan, I was just moving my way through the dance floor, and, it was kind of later in the reception, and I just happened to look over, and you were just like hanging out by yourself over in the corner, just watching, making sure things were going smoothly, and I just happened to like lock eyes, and you would just dead stare straight at me and just lifted your arms up and slowly pulled your wand out of your sleeve, looked at
Harry
me,
Potter wand.
yeah, and then slowly pushed it back in, and then just looked away and didn't even say anything. And I was just like, this person's awesome. We're going to be best friends.
That makes me sound incredibly creepy, but I'm okay with that.
It was like a sweet, funny thing. So
yeah, there was a time when I carried a bigger purse that I always had a Harry Potter wand with me because I love Harry Potter, and it would come up in conversation a lot. And I was so proud to own a Harry Potter wand. I now have 4, and a smaller purse, which means I can't carry it around with me everywhere. But I have them displayed on my wall like a true Harry Potter nerd fan.
One of our first bonding experiences was when you and Mike came down and we made wands for Rachel's birthday party.
Yes, Rachel had a Harry Potter birthday party, which is probably why we're best buddies.
Yes.
And we all sat making really cool Harry Potter wands, which turned out looking awesome, like chocolate, but they turned out awesome.
Yeah, they definitely looked
Everyone
edible.
tried to eat them. Yeah. I feel like that's a good thing, though.
Oh, yeah.
Testament to our skill.
Oh, that's for sure. Okay, digressing back to Rachel and I.
How about pets?
We have 2 sweet kitties named Fred and George after the Weasley twins, yes. And if you follow me on Instagram at Daniel Moyer Photo, you will see some pictures of, couples from their wedding days, and you'll see a lot of pictures of my cats. So, you can decide if you're a cat person or a dog person, which, whatever.
I'm a dog person.
I know.
I like cats, but I love dogs.
So, good segue. How about you, Danielle? Tell us about yourself.
My full name is Danielle Pasternak. On the interwebs and social media, just about anywhere and everywhere, I'm DPNAC. And my company is DPNAC Weddings. So many times I get asked, particularly by telemarketers whose calls I don't necessarily welcome. They ask me, is it DP? And that's basically where they leave off. But it's DPNAK. I pronounce it DPNAC. You can pronounce it however in the world you like, whatever floats your boat. But the name comes from my name, Danielle Pasternak, DPNAC, all shortened and smushed together. Removed any unnecessary letters. But I have an older sister who I love and adore, and she has just passed her 25-year anniversary of being in the United States Navy. And when she was in the Navy as a single gal, her name was Melissa Pasternak, and everybody called her Mel Pnack. And when I was younger, and well, I still look up to my sister, but she was the coolest thing. So she was Mel Pnack. So I was like, well, I need a nickname. And apparently my creativity was limited to that. So I became DPNAC, and it's a great name because it's not really taken too much on social media.
Yeah.
So I'm always able to snag up my 5-letter handle, and I'm happy. So Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is, I'm pretty much at DPNAC. So we do wedding coordination. When I say we, it's always I. It's myself, and I have a really great team that comes and helps me on a wedding day. They assist me, but it's always me working one-on-one with my clients. I love that. I started out, same as Dan, back in 2009, just over 6 years ago now. I started out taking a road trip across country. I quit every job I had. I was a ballerina. I was doing everything. Not a good ballerina, but I was trying really hard to be a good ballerina.
Hey, I saw you do a pirouette the other day, and it looked pretty good.
Good word use. Good word use.
Thank you.
Very good. I like to twirl. That's very true. But I quit everything I knew. I reached a point in my life where I needed to figure out what I wanted to do in the next chapter. And so I took a road trip, a 41-day road trip across the country, and just lived out of hotels mostly because I thought that was fancy. And I lived out of my car and I packed it up with so many things I never even touched and didn't need. But yeah, so I did a road trip. And when I came back, I said, okay, Danielle, what do you want to do? And it hit me literally like a ton of bricks, that this wedding coordination is what I was meant to do. I took everything that I really love and enjoy doing, and I found a way to put it into a career that is just the coolest thing in the entire world. Like I said with Dan, I get to have a front row seat behind the scenes, but a front row seat to so many awesome people's wedding days. And it really doesn't get much better than that. So I love that. I really take a unique approach, I think, with how I do things. For Google SEO purposes, I'm considered a wedding planner, but I really consider myself to be more of a coordinator or a consultant or even like a concierge, because I guide people through the whole wedding process, and we're there helping make sure everything happens the way it's supposed to happen on a wedding day, so that all of our clients get to enjoy themselves, and you really just get to soak in all of those moments that Dan really did a great job of describing. So I don't think at any point when Dan was talking about his 4 favorite moments of the day, when it was him talking about like, oh, when I had to give the baker directions, not that happened, but just as an example, or when the limo, actually this did happen, when the limo didn't show up to the right spot to pick up the bride. Dan wasn't worried about that. He was pacing behind the altar, just waiting for his beautiful bride to get there, and I was taking care of that.
Yeah.
So Dan was able to kind of take in that moment.
And can I just interject there that when we got to our wedding day, you knew more about our wedding than we did. Just because we hired you for that reason. We wanted, and we'll get into this probably in the next episode, but we just wanted everything, all of our guests and friends and family, just to be able to completely relax and not have to worry about where does the cards go at the end of the night, how do we get our gifts back to the hotel, and you just took care of all that, and you did it with such grace and simplicity and so organized. So if that's my little shameless plug for hiring Danielle Pasternak, then there it is. But continue. Sorry.
No, I appreciate that, Dan. It's giving people like you the opportunity to just enjoy their wedding days. 100% best part of the whole thing. So, and I get to be surrounded by really pretty flowers and all kinds of very cool things when I work. So that's a perk as well. But yeah, so on the personal side of things, I have the best family in the entire world. Sorry, everybody else. I have just very cool people surrounding me with love and support all the time that I'm super grateful for. My partner, his name's Mike. We are currently in the process of really figuring out all the cool things we like and enjoy doing together. Some of those things is like eating. We really like good food, and we like game nights. It's just very cool to learn about each other and learn about how we are in a partnership, because he's the best guy I think I've ever met. No offense, Dan. And but I'm very happy to have him in my life and all that comes with having him in my life. Yeah. But he is not as much of a Harry Potter fan as I am. We are bringing him. Yeah, he is using language that I'm very proud of. He called me a muggle the other day, which initially stung, but then I was like, oh wait, that's great.
Good job.
Good word use. So that's kind of our little thing. So yeah, that's me in a strange little nutshell. Okay, so but anyway, enough about me, enough about us. We want to tell you about this podcast
and where we're going with it.
Exactly.
So really, when we first started coming together and discussing, what our motivation was for this, we both kind of realized that, none of our couples, the couples that we've ever worked with, are professional wedding planners. So chances are that this is probably going to be the first time that you're working on planning an event that has this many details and is generally, a large thing to plan. Even if you're having a small, intimate wedding, there's still a lot of details that go into it. So our first motivation is really just to give you as many tips and little nuggets here and there just to help you lighten your load.
Mm-hmm. We really want you to be able to take things away from this podcast, to find ways that you can make your wedding the best it can possibly be for you and your partner. Because everything is a learning experience, but there's a lot of time and there's a lot of money that gets invested into weddings. And it's tough not to be really worried about making mistakes and costly mistakes at that. It's ultimately, you have this one shot to put together a wedding, and whether it's your first, second, third, fourth wedding, it doesn't really matter. This is your wedding to this partner, and that's a really important thing. And it's not like a birthday party where, well, we goofed up this year, but next birthday, we'll do it right. And that's not to scare, but it's a lot of pressure. And I think that's why there's so many emotions that come in with wedding days. So we want to lighten your load. We want to make you laugh. We want to inspire you.
Yeah. And sometimes inspire, because, we really have a lot of stories and a lot of tidbits, like you were saying, that we can share. And when we get two kind of weird, quirky people together, there's a lot of bloopers and things that you will eventually hear one day. And we hope that those bloopers and some of the kind of things that we talk about will eventually make you laugh too.
Mm-hmm. And really, we want to share our world and our worldview in a way that benefits you guys, whether you're a bride, a groom, a couple, whatever you identify as, that's getting married and having a wedding. We have a lot of knowledge that we want to share to help make your wedding, like I said, the best it can be for you and your partner.
Yeah. The other thing that we were thinking about it when we first started talking about this is the reason why we chose a podcast is because we want to be able to talk about weddings on your time. Mm-hmm. Whether you're in the car on your way to work and you've just got, 20, 30 minutes, or if you're, running on the treadmill, or if you're, having a wine night with the gals, and you want to listen to a podcast, during that time, and just, be able to be inspired during that, that time on your time.
Right. It is on your time. And weddings are a very visual thing, which is why I think you see so many beautiful blogs out there sharing images and sharing all these beautiful things. But it's tough for any blog to get really too much into the nitty gritty logistical side of things. And I think that's a really, really important thing to talk about, because you can make your wedding as beautiful as possible. But if your wedding doesn't feel good from a guest perspective, or even from your perspective, it could be as beautiful as it is, but people aren't going to leave there being like, wow, that was a great time. Like, I'm so happy for them. They're going to leave and be like, all right, well, another wedding, it's
the whole experience will be lost on them. Yeah, exactly.
No matter how beautiful it is. So yeah, that's why we thought podcast is a really cool way to share everything that we have. And I love that.
And since we don't want to overload you, our plan is to really kind of bring new content every other week. So we hope that, the content that we do share, you'll be able to kind of let it marinate for a little bit. And then, right at the right time, we'll bring some new stuff. But we have already loaded, since this is the introductory episode, we've already loaded a couple of extra episodes for you, just so you can go right from this one to the next couple and just, get your wedding fix and get you started off on a right, good, awesome path to awesome weddingness.
Awesome.
Doubly awesome. Sorry.
Doubly awesome. So before we jump into that doubly awesome, super awesome content, we want to just remind you one last time how you can help us grow so that we can keep bringing you such awesome information.
To get us onto that new and noteworthy section, please review us. Give us a little something. Press that subscribe button. We'd really, really love for you to help us grow. And the only way we can do that is just by, having really, really great listeners and really great engagement. So again, hit that subscribe button, leave us a good review, and then also head over to our website, sign up for email notifications that we can send out to you, get show notes and all other kinds of goodies.
Yes. So put a ring on it podcast.com. That's where you want to head to, subscribe, review, all that good stuff. So keep on playing, and we'll see you in the next episode. We're going to be talking about how it's your party for everyone else. And we're going to talk more about what that means and why it's really so important. So we will see you guys soon, and take care.
See you then. Bye-bye.